Hey guys, it's Mr. Archaeopteryx. So I just watched a video Kent did responding to comments, and the things he was saying are so dishonest. I figured I needed to respond. So here we go.
You know the evidence. You've been talking about this for decades. Oh, Jock, whatever you are. I have been talking about it for decades. I'm not aware of any evidence for evolution. Any of you folks know of any?
He's perfectly aware of the evidence, he just rejects it or he denies it. But to say that he's not aware of it is just, he's just playing dumb there.
Mackenzie?
How to rebut all their so-called evidence.
Mackenzie, when kitty cats have babies, what do they grow up to be?
Kitty cat.
Kitty cats? Come to Dinosaur Adventureland. Mackenzie will explain it to you. Okay. In language maybe some of you can understand.
When you frame it like dogs only have dogs, we both know that, like, for any observable effort towards this reproductive cycle, we will only ever see something like that, right? You know that. So when you say, well, do dogs beget cats? Of course they don't, because that's not how it works, right? And you
I've never said they do, and I've never accused you guys of believing it. You are diverting the question.
Then why did you bring it up? But I would like to know why you always ask that question.
Hold it. I'm trying to show the stupidity of believing dogs and mosquitoes have a common ancestor. I have never said dogs produce mosquitoes, and don't accuse me of that. It is now scrambled into a run-on sentence, and I'd like to point out it is still a fly. In every case, it's a. I mean, are you telling me there's been examples where it turned into something that was non-fly?
May I remind you, Mr. Hovind, that at the very beginning of this, I said that. Yes.
Have to wait longer. More time.
In observable time frame, we will not expect to see a dog produce a non-dog. That was what I said, and you insist that that is what we should expect to see. Actually, you insist that in order for you to accept evolution, we should observe what the theory of evolution says that we should not observe. That is nonsense.
First, he's assuming that a tree exists at all. All we've ever observed is dogs produce dogs. Nobody's ever seen anything other than that. Never. Well, yeah, so that is science. Drawing a line on a piece of paper saying dogs are related to anything else is simply imagination. This isn't science.
Dr. Mays, would we expect a population of dogs to have anything else other than dogs?
Well, there's a couple points on that. One, of course, organisms within a generation give birth. Dogs in one generation will give birth to dogs the next generation. That's obvious. And in fact, if that didn't happen, if dogs didn't give birth to dogs, or what we call like doesn't beget like, that's a fundamental principle of genetics that is essential for evolution to work. Because if offspring did not resemble their parents, we couldn't have evolution by natural selection take place in the first place.
I should have clicked to read more. There's no evidence, Jock. None. You guys are dreaming this stuff. You just can't. What an imagination.
There should be lots of evidence, right?
We're all being forced to pay for it to be taught to all the kids like it's a scientific fact. I think the burden of proof's on them to prove it.
There should be tons of evidence.
Tons of, where is it? I'd like to see it.
Actually, you have a quote from Charles Darwin. It says, if my theory be true, there should be thousands.
Right, if my theory be true, there should be millions of intermediate forms, and there are none. Zero. Okay.
So Hovind is asking, where's the evidence? There should be tons of evidence, he says. And his helpers in the background are even saying, yeah, where's the transitional fossils? Darwin said that there should be plenty of transitional fossils. And Hovind agrees, yes, this is evidence. Where is this evidence? Where are these transitional fossils? Now, anybody who's heard Hovind talking for a little while knows he rejects transitional fossils as evidence. He rejects all fossils as evidence of anything. He says you can't learn anything from them other than that something died. So on one hand, he's saying, where is this evidence? Why aren't we seeing transitional fossils? And on the other hand, he's saying, I reject all fossils as evidence. So it's just kind of him talking out of both sides of his mouth.
A picture of a creature that looks like a transitional form, or a fossil that looks like a transitional form, is it not a transitional form? No, David. You couldn't prove it had, the one you're looking at, had any children that lived. And being able to arrange things in order that looks to our mind like some kind of sequence doesn't prove anything. You could put a 2-prong fork and a 3-prong fork, which actually is a 3, and a 4-prong fork, put them side by side, have 2, 3, 4. That doesn't prove they're related at all. It's a similar design. So there is no such thing as a transitional species. There is no such thing. They don't exist. But again, I would go back to say, every single bone you find in the dirt, you could not use it as evidence that it's an ancestor to anybody. None of that would count. In an honest court of law, the judge would say, you're right, no bones found in the dirt count. You did not demonstrate that you could prove that they had any children at all. Especially you did not prove they had children that were different than themselves.
Do we need to know if an individual fossil ever reproduced? Absolutely not. It's just crazy to think that we would look at an individual fossil and have to know whether it reproduced, because every single fossil, or every individual, I should say, is a member of a population. There's no individuals out there living by themselves. And the theory of evolution says that populations evolve over time. It doesn't say individuals give birth to anything else besides themselves. Ken has got a straw man argument there, definitely. You know, he'll say, oh, we have to prove that this individual gave birth to something other than itself. That is not how the theory of evolution works. It's not what it says at all. Again, every individual is a member of a population. The traits that we see in the individual will be present throughout the population. Again, the straw man, dogs will always give birth to dogs. Animals always produce the same kind. Of course they do. Darwin predicted every species would give birth to the same species, but populations change over time.
At LOL. You all call microevolution as if that's some kind of argument against it. Name the mechanism that stops evolution from continuing from generation to generation. Okay.
Okay, so this 2 skills for you guy. He's asking to name a mechanism that stops evolution from continuing from generation to generation. And Hovind's going to respond by giving examples of things evolving basically to a point where they would be killed, which is not what he was asking. Hovind could have chosen anything that evolution has claimed has happened throughout our history and said, hey, this can't happen because of this mechanism. Instead, he's going to say, well, evolution can't make, pigs the size of Kansas, or he can't make race horses go around a track in 0 seconds. Things that evolution has never claimed could happen. So go ahead and listen.
2 skills for you. Let me explain it to you. I bet if we could look at the records, we would find that the Kentucky Derby in the last 100 years has gone from an average winning speed of about 125 seconds or whatever it is, down to about 122 seconds. If it took 100 years to shave off 3 seconds, 2 skittles for you, could we then predict that in the next 1,000 years we could shave off 30 more seconds? And in 4,000 years they'd be running around the track in 0. Is there a limit to how fast a horse can run around the track? Is there a limit, 2 skittles for you? Do you think they'll ever get a pig as big as Texas or California? Or how about just as big as Lennox? Do you think they'll ever get a dog as small as a flea? There are animals as small as a flea, like a flea. So it can be done. People get bigger and bigger. Do you think we'll ever find a person 50 feet tall or 2,000 feet tall or 47 miles tall? The length of the neck? You think we'll ever get a giraffe with a 5,000 foot long neck? Is there a limit? Would you guys please just admit there are limits? We don't need to decide what the limit is, but is there a limit at all? Brother, I've been on 185 debates. I can't get them to admit there are limits. Okay, well, let me ask you a simple question then. Does this buildup of genetic diversity have any limits?
What limits would you propose? What limits might you be thinking of?
Okay, let's take limits on size as an example. Is there any Do you believe there's a limit to the size of dogs? Is it possible for dogs to ever become as big as a blue whale? There are animals as big as a blue whale, like the blue whale. So is it possible for an animal, is there a limit on size? Could you get a dog as big as Texas?
Godzilla is not possible, for example.
Very good, very good. So there are limits to this variation.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so there are what you're telling me is that there are structural limits imposed by gravity, but not actually by biodiversity. So there's no limit to biodiversity that you've yet given, only structural limitations according to physics, perhaps.
Well, no, okay, well, correct. Now, why don't we get dogs as big as elephants? Because
of structural difficulties. When they exceed 200 pounds, they are beyond their ability to withstand to grow any larger because of the structure they already have. They have to adapt a more improved structure in order to exceed that size. And the same thing goes with the reason the dinosaurs were so big was because they had a system already built in that allowed that to happen without a backlash. They had avian respiration, so they had hollow bones that they could breathe through, which made them far more energetic and powerful than we are. So that dinosaurs and mammals of equal mass, the dinosaur will excel because it'll be lighter and faster and stronger.
Well, you said the dog is limited and can't become as big as an elephant. There are animals as big as an elephant. It's called an elephant.
There are animals that are as big as an elephant, but they have to, as I just said, and I'm going to have to repeat again, the dog would then have to have a new adaptation to account for the larger size, because we also know bears come from dogs, and bears they don't come from dogs, they come from the common ancestor, but bears are genetically linked to dogs, and bears have excessive size. They don't have the digigrade gait and the hyper speed that dogs have, different derivations.
Blue one, are there limits to the colors? Are there limits to the size? Are there limits to the speed? You guys dream that a dot of nothing exploded and made everything, and I can't believe you're that dumb.
So you just got caught lying, saying no one had ever said there was limits, or no one accepted there was limits, when a year and a half earlier Aaron Rod said there were structural limits, which, by the way, was not related to what the Skittles guy was saying. He was asking limits that would stop evolution. You chose to pick limits that would stop evolution from doing crazy things that would kill the animal. So you just got caught lying, and then here you go to throw in a jab, switch the subject to dots of nothing exploding in order to insult a guy and call him dumb. So real classy, Mr. Hovind. I expect nothing less from you.
But we love you. Okay. That's why animals like the hyena no longer look like their ancestor and also evolved to the lion. So the hyena evolved to the lion.
Nope, that's not what he was saying. If you look carefully, he's saying hyenas no longer look like their ancestor that also evolved to the lion. So lions and hyenas had a common ancestor is what he's claiming. And by the way, there are lots of creationists that accept that. But anyway, what else you got?
I believe if you check it out, you'll find out most dogs do not have retractable claws, and cats do have retractable claws.
Lots of cats, sorry. A little too much whiskey tonight, have retractable claws, but some of them have lost that ability. Like cheetahs, for example. Cheetahs have lost their retractable claws because they are sprinters. They run fast, and having retractable claws apparently is a negative effect, and they got rid of it. So saying hyenas don't have retractable claws doesn't help you at all, unless you don't want to. If you want to say cheetahs don't have, or I'm sorry, cheetahs aren't related to the other cats, then we've got another issue we need to discuss. But what else?
Where does these extra muscles come from to retract the claws? I think you'll find there are quite a few differences between the hyena and the lion. Now, if you want to believe the hyena turned to the lion, you probably believe soup came alive too. Okay.
Nobody thinks that a hyena turned into a lion. They had a common ancestor. I guess you just need to read your comments a little more carefully.
What?
That's quite a claim.
That is quite a claim. I think the burden of proof's on you to prove it.
Well, burden of proof on a straw man, I guess.